Grandmother Elizabeth was the heart of the family. She was old, with silver hair tied neatly behind her head, and her eyes carried both warmth and wisdom. Every evening, she gathered her children and grandchildren in the living room and shared stories. Her favorite saying was, "One broomstick is easy to break, but a bundle of broomsticks cannot be broken." The family often smiled politely, but no one really thought much about her ways. To them, life seemed fine. They lived in a comfortable house in the city, and everyone had their own work and responsibilities. They did not see how an old saying about broomsticks had anything to do with their modern lives. But Grandmother Eliza always repeated it, reminding them that unity was the strongest shade a family could have. The family was large. Eliza had three children, Michael, Anna, and David, each with their own families. Michael was hardworking but proud. Anna was caring but sensitive, and David was ambitious and often stubborn. Their children, the grandchildren, were full of energy, dreams, and sometimes quarrels. On weekends, the house was full of laughter, games, and the smell of delicious food. But underneath the joy, there were small cracks. Little disagreements would arise, like who would clean up after dinner or which child deserved more attention. Most of the time, they brushed it aside, but slowly those cracks began to grow. As time passed, jealousy started to creep into the family. Michael often felt that Anna received more love from their mother, while David thought Michael was always treated like the leader. Small comments during conversations turned into arguments, and argument turned into cold silence. The grandchildren began to notice the tension. Cousins who once played together stopped sharing toys or secrets. Even family dinners began to feel heavy, with forced smiles and quick goodbyes. Grandmother Elizabeth noticed the changes, but she stayed calm, waiting for the right moment to remind them of her lesson. One day, during another heated quarrel about money and responsibilities, Eliza quietly stood up and left the room. She returned holding a broom. Slowly, she pulled out one broomstick and broke it easily with her hands. The snapping sound caught everyone's attention. Then she tried to break the whole bundle of broomsticks at once, but no matter how hard she tried, it did not break. She looked at her family and said, "Do you see? Alone you are weak, but together you are strong. If you let jealousy and anger divide you, you will break easily. But if you stand together, nothing can destroy you." The room grew silent, but the family still did not fully understand how serious her words were. Not long after, real trouble came. A group of strangers began causing problems in their neighborhood. They were known for cheating families, taking what was not theirs, and spreading fear. One day, they set their eyes on Eliza's family. They saw the cracks, the quarrels, and thought it would be easy to take advantage. The strangers spread lies, saying one sibling was planning to sell the family's land and another was hiding money. The family, already divided, believed some of these lies. Instead of standing together, they grew more suspicious of one another, which made the strangers even bolder. One stormy night, the family received a threatening letter slipped under their door. It said that unless they gave away a large sum of money, they would face great harm. Panic spread quickly. Michael accused David of being careless with business. Anna blamed Michael for not protecting them, and David shouted back at both of them. Meanwhile, the grandchildren listened with fear. Their once safe home now felt like a place of danger. In the corner, Grandmother Eliza sat quietly, her heart heavy. She knew this was the moment her family would need to remember her words or risk losing everything. The next morning, Eliza gathered them all once more. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled with age. This is the danger I have been warning you about, she said. When you fight each other, you make yourselves weak, but if you stand as one, no threat can defeat you. For the first time, her children and grandchildren truly listened. The weight of the situation opened their eyes. They realized the danger was not just from outside but also from within. Their jealousy, pride, and mistrust, they promised to put their differences aside and work together. With unity in mind, the family sat down to create a plan. Michael offered to use his strength to guide the house. Anna used her wisdom to organize everyone, and David contributed his clever ideas for protecting their property. The grandchildren, too, played their part by staying alert and helping with small tasks. For the first time in a long while, they worked as one team. Every voice was heard, every hand had a role, and every heart felt a little stronger. Slowly, they began to feel the power of standing together, just as Eliza had always said. The strangers returned, expecting to find a broken family. Instead, they were met with unity. The light in the house shone brightly, the gates were locked, and every family member stood tall. Michael greeted them at the door. Anna stood beside him, and David faced them with confidence. The strangers tried to confuse them with lies again, but the family refused to argue among themselves. Instead, they spoke with one voice. We are together, and we will not be divided. The strength in their unity startled the strangers, who left that night without achieving their goal. The family's courage grew. They realized that unity gave them not only protection but also peace. Old quarrels seemed smaller when compared to the strength they found together. The grandchildren began to play happily again, sharing toys and laughter as before. Eliza smiled often, her heart swelling with joy. She saw her children finally walking the path she had showed them for years. It was not the broomstick that gave them strength, but the love and trust that held them together. Weeks passed, and the strangers eventually gave up, realizing they could not defeat a united family. Other neighbors who once suffered quietly noticed Eliza's family and began to learn from them. Slowly, the entire community grew stronger, standing together against threats and lies. The once fearful neighborhood became a place of safety and trust, and at the center of it all was one family who had learned the true meaning of unity. One evening, the grandchildren asked Eliza to tell the broom story again, but this time they listened with new eyes and hearts. When she broke a single broomstick, they gasped, and when she held up the unbroken bundle, they nodded in understanding. It means we need each other, one of the youngest whispered. Eliza smiled, knowing the lesson was finally alive in their hearts. It was no longer just words, it was now their way of life. Years later, even after Eliza passed away, her family kept her words alive. They faced challenges, disagreements, and trials, but they always remembered the broomsticks. Whenever problems arise, someone will remind the others a bundle cannot be broken. The family's unity became their greatest inheritance. And so Eliza's wisdom lived on, not just in her children and grandchildren, but in generations to come. Her simple lesson had turned into a powerful truth. Families that stand together cannot be broken.